I often get asked by parents on what are the best ways to prepare for a person-centered meeting at their child's school or college. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to just come together with you and sort of run through the main priorities and the main things to look out for. Because a person-centered meeting is a really important meeting between parents, the child, and the child's school and your child's school. Whether it's with the class teacher and the Elenco, sometimes it might just be the class teacher, but it is a very essential meeting for your child's needs to be recognised and for your child to be seen. So the outcome of going to a person-centered meeting is actually that you should come away with a one-page profile. It's important to note that there are a few differences between Wales and England. In Wales, if you're going to go down the IDP route, if you're going to go down the route of exploring additional learning needs, it's a statutory duty within the ALN code of practice to include the one-page profile. So that's really key. In England, it's not statutory, but it's considered good practice and very often used within educational healthcare plans and SEN support plans in order to co-produce and plan meaningfully for a child. So the one-page profile, what it does at this meeting, it captures your child's voice, it captures what your child's needs are in line with the UNCRC and Article 12, where children fundamentally have the right to express their views and what really matters to them. It's important. In the eventuality that you need to go down the IDP route, if you are in Wales, the quality and the standards of the IDP outcomes can only work if it is connected with what really matters to the learner. And so therefore the one-page profile is an essential part of that planning. And so we're going to be looking at a number of examples. Let's take this first example. It's a really lovely document. It identifies some really lovely positive things about the learner. But let's face it, when we explore and interrogate what is being said about the learner, it doesn't actually say very much because it's not specific. It's not specific to the child in terms of making a difference and supporting them with. So this type of one-page profile is simply not going to work. It's not going to serve your child. And if anything, it's just going to be confusing and cause harm because you're unable to connect with the child and the child's needs with such simplistic information. When you look at the second one-page profile, what you see is a deeper understanding about connecting with the child and what's really important to the child, what's important to the child, but also what's important for the child. So let's compare. So when working on the one-page profile with your child's school and obviously with your child as well, let's look at these two, so sample A and sample B. When you look at the first one, it's extremely positive. It says how best to support me, and it identifies things such as encourage me, explain things slowly, let me do my work on my Chromebook, access to well-being and thrive. Frankly, this type of narrative doesn't really say very much or how specifically in terms of meeting the child's needs. Whereas when you look at the second example, sample B, what is important to me, it's much more specific to the child. So you've got things like, I love playing with Lego and building with blocks. So that's explicit. My mummy and daddy are important to me. I have a dog and a hamster. I like it when people listen to what I have to say. That is an important statement. It's important to me that I'm offered choices so I can choose for myself what I want to play with. Do you see? Again, very, very specific to how the child functions, but also accesses the environment. Lunchtime is really important to me because it's fun. I love food, having Minecraft at the end of the day. So that's useful information. I like it when people tell me I have done good work. Again, another example of the kind of specificity, if you like, that for that individual child. So another very important stage of the one-page profile is for the adults that work with this child, including the parents and the teachers, are able to identify what is important for me. And that's very different to what is important to me. So really supporting the child in being able to articulate this and to tease this out is really important. So let's again compare, contrast the sample A and sample B of the one-page profiles. Here a child identifies what I find difficult. So the child says doing cartwheels and backflips, maths problem solving, managing strong emotions. That's all very well, but it's again, it just lacks specific information. It lacks depth. It lacks. I wouldn't know where to start when it comes to maths problem solving, because maths is such a massive area. Which part of maths do you struggle with problem solving? Whereas when you look at part the second sample, what is important for me? Now listen carefully to this one. I find change a little challenging and can get overwhelmed when things are different to what I would normally expect. I need an adult to read through the daily timetable so that I know what to expect during the day. So, again, that's really explicit. The people who are talking about this child really understand and know the child. If I refuse to do my work, please give me a choice of two options and explain using my now and next card. Again, another really good example of how to support the child when they are struggling to access or when the environment is just not working for them. Very different to part A, which is about managing strong feelings. What does that mean? If I'm becoming dysregulated, you can distract me by playing a game with me that I like, or going for a walk outside or around the school. I like to talk about what has happened, so please debrief with me. Again, another really good example of how the child wants debriefing, wants communication, wants someone to be able to problem solve their thinking with them so that they are able to improve those habits or those difficulties that they might have. And again, ways of distracting them when they are feeling dysregulated. Really useful information. I find being in the classroom overstimulating, so please let me have a movement break in the outside area. I like to learn and play in a quiet environment. I may get frustrated with others around me. Again, that kind of information is really helpful to a teacher when putting systems in place, and certainly when planning for the lessons and considering how this child might respond to different activities. So it gives you the heads up in that level of quality of delivery of the lesson. I like and sometimes need one-to-one adult support to complete my work. I complete my work first and then I have a free choice. So this section of what is important for me is a pivotal section of the one-page profile, and it just says so much about this individual and how I, as the adult in charge, the available adult, am able to relate and make the environment as meaningful and as accessible as possible to them. And I think when you complete a one-page profile with your child's score, as a parent, you need to walk away and feel that is such a great reflection of my child. The adults working with my child really clearly understand my child and are able to connect with my child in a meaningful way and naturally also relate to you as a parent in a meaningful way, because they really get your child, and that's really important. So just stating the obvious, the first sample very vague, and the second sample a good example of something that's specific. And so finally, I just wanted to finish off by sort of reminding us that it is the learner and the parent and the carers who need to have control and influence on all the planning and support for this child. The code of practice, whether you are in England or in Wales, but the ALN code of practice clearly places a parent at the centre of all decision making. And it states that parents and children and the young people are at the heart of the process. And so whether you work in a school or a local authority or a health provision, you have to involve parent at every single stage in terms of identifying needs, but also making decisions about the provisions that are being put in place. The person-centered planning process is pivotal in understanding the child's needs, especially where these needs are not immediately visible. That is really, really key. Thank you.